Hello, I'm Wayne Visser and I'm Director of CSR International, and I'm here today in Mumbai with Bimal Arora, who is a CSR scholar and consultant. Welcome, Bimal.
Thank you.
Could we start by getting your views on CSR in India?
Sure. CSR in India, I think it's a interesting history. I mean, we have had traditions of philanthropy and charity for ages. And someone has discussed CSR in India in terms of four models, where we're talking about CSR as a statist model, CSR as a trusteeship model, CSR as a stakeholder model, and CSR as a shareholder model. So, till about, I would, let's say, if we divide CSR between prior to 1991 and post 1991, we have very different views coming out as far as CSR is concerned. Now, prior to 1991, we had more of a statist model, and we had not much scope for discretionary practices for corporations. They were limited to largely philanthropy. I mean, it has its own value in terms of it does double up for our people where government is not able to deliver for whatever reasons, but it does helps people. After 1991, when the economic reforms were set in motion by the government, there has been great interest among different stakeholders, whether it's non-government organizations, whether it's industry associations, or whether it's corporations. I mean, increasingly now the academic business schools are getting into studying CSR in a good way. But and then also, more interestingly, I think I differentiate between the non-government organizations. On the one hand, we have a set of organizations who are more into activist mode or campaigning mode. On the other hand, what I call it's a service delivery organizations, which are essentially looking at community development programs, delivering community development programs for the corporations. Having said that, CSR, as far as the notion is concerned, it's been looking at as a management concept, has been rather challenging for the companies, particularly in India, because India is dominated by family-owned and managed businesses. Despite having the Anglo-Saxon models of corporate governance in the last decade and a half, perhaps. But there have been challenges where they have not been able to move largely beyond community development issues, around the periphery of their own operations. So I see it delivering little value than it would have otherwise. Increasingly, there's a trend which is about more of a strategic CSR, where it has been used as largely as an image building or goodwill development exercise, where corporations do engage in their product or processes or whatever way. But I think in my feeling is both the philanthropic model or the community development model of CSR and strategic model of CSR both have their limitations, because they can go that to an extent only. They cannot create value beyond that.
Now, one of the areas I know you've done work in where you feel more value is being created is in inclusive markets. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, my research recently I've been involved in inclusive business models, and it's as part of UNDP Growing Inclusive Markets initiative. I have studied inclusive business models. And that's as against CSR, it gives me a great hope. And the way I look at it is the economic reform since 1991 has benefited a lot of middle class, educated middle class people, families. Now these young people who have benefited in the last 18 odd years, they are with a sense of or commitment, and perhaps there's a wave of innovations happening, and new thinking developing. So they're coming back and contributing. They have benefited in the process and they want to come back and give it to, make it big as well, give back to society and for themselves also. To cite certain examples, for instance, there is a company called A Little World. I have done actually a case study on that. That is a very interesting model where a use of high technology, the biometric readers have been combined with mobile phones to deliver financial inclusion services, or in a more simple terms, banking services to people at the rural areas in particular. Now, besides, there are cases like we have something called Selco, which is delivering solar lanterns in the rural areas, which are mostly off-grid, or maybe there are no power available, or power availability is very limited in those areas. And then the more innovative or interesting part of that particular model is, he realized, the founders have realized that it may not be wise to, people may not just go for an outright purchase, so they have followed a rental model. So people can just, rent for whatever a short duration they want, so I think that model is doing quite well. We have different models coming up on the affordable healthcare segment. We have an organization called Vatsal in Bangalore, Swasthya India in Mumbai, which are developing different kinds of models to deliver affordable healthcare. Swasthya India in particular is working towards strengthening the government and strengthening and leveraging government's infrastructure to deliver services to the poor rural areas and semi-urban areas. And besides, I think one thing I think in this entire process which I feel is very important, is that there is a combination of development and commercial finance that operates. And this is what social entrepreneurship or inclusive business model is what we call. On the one hand, they're getting some level, there are certain subsidies, elements of subsidies involved, which I call development finance. And then there is a huge amount of huge interest in the private equity or venture capitalists. So these two streams are coming together in this process, channelized through these social entrepreneurial and inclusive business models, and they are creating a lot of value. And I feel it's going to be, next 10, 15, 20 years are going to be very different than what in the last 18 years, let's say, post 1991 CSR has delivered to India.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing how it works out.
Thank you.